I wanted to give everyone some food for thought. I think we've already had lots of food for thought this morning. And this is, in hindsight, it's going to link seamlessly onto what you've heard this morning. And also just to potentially plant some seeds for some future businesses. And originally I was going to talk about enterprises, but I probably added that businesses, enterprises and ideas. I know the theme of the day is learning without boundaries. And as part of this, I wanted to touch on the fact, well, it's a fact or an opinion, but an outstanding business as a result of imagination and knowledge without boundaries. So outstanding businesses. So linking this in, business without boundaries, if you will. And I want to cover three themes, start with a question and end with a question. And it's a question for everyone to think about. I think not just for the people who are going to be applying for universities or whatever in the next few years or finishing up their GCSEs. I suggest this applies to everyone. We're all in business to some degree or another. We're coordinating knowledge, ideas, resources for an end outcome. So there is that element of we are all running an enterprise in a way, in a sense. I know some of you are in the midst of finishing off your studies, your education, looking forward to potentially university, future careers. I suggest it still applies to you as well. So that's the question really to start and think about, and we'll come back to that at the end. The first theme around that is, it's quite broad, but how are the boundaries of business and work changing? And it's immensely broad, but just to try and narrow this down a bit, I came up with three things. And firstly, around knowledge, and it's already been touched on today, but there's been an exponential growth in collective knowledge. That's not just the knowledge we pick up from books or from seminars or from sessions like this. There is a huge amount of collective knowledge out there. We can Google anything we want, look up the background on Wikipedia, for example, is factually correct as that may be or not. We can look at related videos on YouTube. There is an immense amount of collective knowledge out there. So I'd suggest, again, there really are no excuses for not knowing about anything. You really can tap into it. And secondly, this is one that gets mixed reactions, but the human experience. So people are living longer than they've ever lived. We're probably better educated than we've ever been. We're certainly better connected, largely better fed. I mean, I know there are caveats around that. And in the last 10 or so years, about 1 billion babies have been born. There are just more of us. And again, it's a slightly controversial statement, but I'd say this is a phenomenal time to be alive. And I know there's some great TEDtalks about this, talking about the era that we're living in. It probably is a phenomenal time. I'll look back on it as an amazing amount of opportunity and amazing amounts of things that we can seek to do. And the third thing, adding to the knowledge, adding to that human experience, is technology. And I think very simply, without going into a massive tirade about this, technology we have around us today is simply making everything easier. Hence, I'm looking at a countdown clock there. It's enabling anything, so iPads, Facebook, whatever, I mean, they're cliches, but it's making life a lot simpler and it's opening up the possibilities of what we can do. So it really is, coming back to the question, when you go back to work on Monday, or you start any working careers in the next few years, question again, given limitless knowledge, given that limitless stock of knowledge that we have got, given the improving human experience, given the technology that's making our lives easier and making more things accessible to us, what are you doing to shape, grow and develop your business? And I think coming out with the outset, we are all in business to some degree or another, whether that's an enterprise, whether that's other activities. What are you doing to shape, develop and grow that? Second theme, following on from that, is, again, it gets mixed reactions, but why now in the next few years are probably the best time ever to set up a business. And I kind of touched on this earlier, but here, this comes from the idea that I was talking to one or two people at the break as well. Rather than following the crowd, have you thought about how your imagination can take you to somewhere else, thinking completely laterally, completely left field about this, rather than logically left-brained, approaching a problem sequentially? I need to do this, I need to pass this exam, I need to go to university, I need to go in this career, I need to go and pass these exams there. Just thinking completely laterally. And bear with me on this one. Mentioning the point about technology earlier, and you are the most technologically advanced generation ever. And where we're seeing problems, are we thinking laterally enough about how we fix these problems? Yes, granted, there are massive challenges, massive challenges. So the 1 billion or so babies born in the last 10 years, some demographers, or without getting into the issues around this, some demographers see that as a problem. How are we going to feed these 1 billion people? what are we going to do? Where are we going to get the land from? How are we going to grow the food? Etc., etc. But you spin that around slightly, turn it on its head, that's 1 billion more customers. 1 billion more people to sell and market to. I'd say that's a fantastic opportunity. You know, if I can sell something worth £1 to each one of them, happy days. And another one that gets mixed reactions is about water. I'm reading a lot about water crises, potential wars about access to fresh water, potential water becoming, fresh water becoming more important than oil. Again, it's another TED talk, but the idea that about 97–98% of our water supply is untapped. We're just not using it. We just haven't come up with the ideas, haven't had the imagination, haven't used the knowledge to actually tap in and use it. And things like mineral deficiencies, and this amazes me, that issues around pricing, without getting into the economics and the politics around it, shortages of things like platinum. But there are asteroids, and as far-fetched as it sounds, I mean, this has actually been explored in some areas in Silicon Valley at the moment. There are asteroids passing nearby which are completely platinum. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility to start mining these asteroids. I mean, that will have economic implications on the price of platinum, but that's another issue. So there are some far-fetched ideas. We're faced with big problems. We will be faced with more problems. We're faced with big challenges. We will be faced with more challenges. But drawing on the theme from today, if we are learning without boundaries, if we're applying what we learn without boundaries, the possibilities, I suggest again, are limitless. And I'd quickly, drawing an aside on that, I'd also say it's a fantastic time to start up a business. If we have a challenge, if we figured out a solution about how we're going to address that challenge, it's, caveat, it's relatively easy to set up an enterprise, whether that be a business, whether that be a charity, whether that be a social enterprise, whether that be a Quango, whether that be any other body you want to mention, to start to deal with that issue. The challenges are there, let's be creative, let's learn without boundaries, let's apply what we're learning, and start to face these challenges head on. And also set up businesses in the process. I think will be incredibly exciting, incredibly liberating. Start to unleash that creativity, start to unleash that kind of inner passion or inner desire, that inner activism within people. It's an exciting time. So I was going to say I don't really practice what I preach, but it's a phenomenal time. And the final thing, really, just drawing on the two further things. I'm just looking at my notes here, but these are cliches, and I'm happy to be shot down about both. And I mean, these are probably common cliches that you would have come across. But drawing that last point together, the quality probably of the questions we're asking, are they good enough? So if we are being faced with a challenge, are we asking the right question? Are we asking an intelligent question? Are we asking a question that's going to give us enough lateral brainstorm, mind-mapped ideas that can start to generate these ideas? And this is a huge cliche, and I have to prefix it with an apology for even saying this, but someone said this to me many years ago, problem well stated, being a problem half solved. Are we stating the problem in the right light? You know, whether that be demography, whether that be water, whether that be mineral shortages, whether that be environmental degradation. Are we looking at the problem in the right light? Are we looking to get the right amount of creativity to start to address that problem? And it's also worth noting there's creative destruction of old models, and I've gone on. I'm just going to wrap up in 30 seconds. Creative destruction of old models. Banking at the moment I'm working with, banking that you know today is not going to be the same as your parents and your grandparents and the world is changing. And I'll just wrap up really quickly with the question again about the original question. I'll add a slight prefix in it. Are you thinking outside the limits of your imaginations? And are you going to take learnings from today and learn without boundaries? Apply that learning without boundaries? Start to look up to some of the challenges we're facing and identify the solutions that will address those challenges? And will you be the business people of the future? For some of the younger guys here, will you be the business people of the future? And how are you going to be shaping, developing, growing your ideas and taking your business beyond boundaries? Thank you very much.